Thank you very much. I don't know about you guys, but I will tell you the energy yesterday was palpable. If you were around in the sessions or at the cocktail last night, it felt so good to have this industry back together. So thank you all for being here. And thank you to day two, or welcome to day two for the 2022 IAB Annual Leadership Meeting. We are back live for the first time since ALM 2020, when we just snuck our conference in under the wire before the COVID lockdown. What a distant memory that is. We had many debates on how to hold ALM this year. For those IABers in the audience, you know them very well. And we leaned on many of you for guidance. Obviously, safety is our #1 objective. And I hope today's protocols weren't terribly cumbersome. Why is it so important for us to be here in person? Because as good as a virtual experience is, and we have many people that are joining us virtually, at the end of the day, this is an industry built on trust, transparency, and relationships. And those relationships are best formed in person. And undoubtedly, they will be reinforced over the coming days. Thank you to everyone that's here live, and thank you to everyone that is joining us online. And of course, thank you to our sponsors, because without your support, none of this is possible. I have been impatient for this moment to arrive, and I hope you've been impatient too. In fact, we are all counting on your impatience. In 2022, we need this industry to start burning with impatience with the challenges that have vexed us for far too long. We need to use this time, right here, right now, to start coming together and actually getting real things accomplished. No more being politely impatient. No more being okay with tweaks and adjustments. No more settling for another good meeting when all the important things get said and none of the important things get done. We cannot let 2022 be another year where incrementalism wins. But before we get there, let's start with the good. If you know me at all, you know that I'm a big believer in the power of digital to make the world better. Think about how long we've been living with this pandemic. Can you even begin to imagine what life would have been like if we did not have digital products and services to keep us safe, informed, entertained, and fed? The ad-supported, market-making internet keeps proving time and time again that it is vital for society and vital for our competitiveness on the global stage. Last fall, we published our latest quadrennial study, the 4th edition, now spanning over 16 years, and we cited it a couple times yesterday, which we collaborated on with Professor John Dayton of Harvard Business School. To quote Professor Dayton, "In earlier studies, the internet was seen as a way to do marketing. In this study, it emerges as a force that makes markets. And not just for corporations. It allows individuals to make markets for their creative talents." A few data points from that study, which we also cited yesterday. We've got an internet economy that has grown 7 times faster than the total US economy and created over 7 million jobs in the last 4 years. In 2020, there were 17.6 million Americans who owe their jobs to the commercial internet. The creator economy now represents 200,000 full-time equivalent employees, translating to 416 million hours of paid work. This has increased tenfold in the past 4 years alone. One of the common misperceptions is that the internet economy is just the big tech platforms. In fact, more internet jobs, 38%, are generated by small firms and self-employed individuals than by the largest firms. This is a stark contrast to 2016, when large firms made up 56% of internet jobs. According to the US Census Bureau, 4.4 million new businesses were created in 2020 alone. The ad-supported internet is fueling that growth, and all of us should be very proud of that. But none of us should be satisfied with the status quo. We don't want more of the stubborn, lingering, unresolved problems that we've already got. Richard Pascal, who The Economist magazine calls one of the leading management gurus of the past 50 years, said it best. The incremental approach to change is effective when what you want is more of what you've already got. Let me be blunt about 5 areas where getting more of what we've already got is not the answer. These are the 5 areas where the industry is still focused on incremental change when we should be catching up with reality, catching up with consumers who are racing ahead of us. Let's talk about the first area, which is streaming. Reality is far ahead of us in streaming. Consumers stream whatever they want, whenever they want, on whatever device is most handy. Why? Because the entertainment industry didn't take an incremental approach to change. By the time Blockbuster filed for Chapter 11 in 2020, entertainment executives were already feverishly working on what's next. Today, just 12 years later, Disney Plus US revenues will probably exceed $4.4 billion, and this year Pluto TV, the Viacom-CBS streaming service, will exceed $1 billion in US ad revenues. Yet, our industry continues to lag. The mechanics for buyers and sellers look more like a relic from the VHS days than a leader in the streaming era. Worse, the business rules that we apply to it are frozen in time. Everything has changed except us. Why on earth does this industry keep going to the market with legacy strategies focused on reach and frequency against wide swaths of demographic audiences? Demographics of 18 to 49 and 25 to 54, or the resurgent 2+, is not the answer. Not for audio, not for video, not for today's marketplace. Why do we all stand up on stages like this one and say we want innovation and buying based on business outcomes, and yet we still force our partners to drive down cost year on year on legacy metrics that don't matter? The industry has been talking forever about siloed planning and execution, but talk is cheap. Where's the progress? Procurement officers sit up and take notice. Efficiency, cheap tonnage, and $2 CPMs are not going to drive your business forward. Consumers are far too savvy to be persuaded by generic messages in unengaging environments. We need data that is responsibly collected to deliver engaging, immersive, and personalized ad experiences. Yes, it may cost more, but it'll be much more effective at driving your business outcomes. Streaming needs less incrementalism and more burning impatience from this entire industry. Let's talk about the second area, talent development and DEI, which we talked a lot about yesterday. One of the reasons that the entertainment industry could move so quickly is that they have serious efforts against diversity, equity, and inclusion. They had stronger, fresher talent ready to embrace a new point of view. Let's face it, they had no choice. The new technologies, our new technologies, enable audiences to find what they want, where they want it, when they want it. Entertainment companies knew they had to reach both deeper and broader to satisfy their existing audiences and the new audiences they must gather. As the worlds of media and marketing and technology continue to collide, our industry will face an ongoing talent crisis. A new extensive Korn Ferry report finds that by 2030, more than 85 million tech jobs could go unfilled because there aren't enough skilled people to fill them. What do the problems of tech companies have to do with the marketing and media industry? What does it have to do with diversity? Everything. If you're a young person with talent and imagination, the tech industry will roll out the red carpet for you. They'll pay to train you. They'll offer you signing bonuses. Startups will dangle the tantalizing possibility that you'll get rich. If we don't diversify our talent pool now, we risk the chance to recruit a diverse workforce altogether. If we don't inspire the next generation of leaders to choose a career in our industry, they'll go elsewhere. We'll lose that talent forever. And if we lose that talent, we lose those audiences. IAB is doing its part. We've brought DEI champion Jessalyn Lamb to lead IAB's learning and development and DEI programs and launched the first nationwide digital media apprenticeship program in partnership with American Apprenticeships Work. We're making it easy for companies of every size to have an immediate impact. The apprentices that they hire will have undergone an intense year-long on-the-job training program that builds powerhouse skills. We also launched the Talent Development Council to help IAB members connect with colleagues at peer organizations, onboard employees remotely, efficiently, and create DEI programs that perform, hire, train, and recruit in a virtual environment. We're investing in building the leaders of tomorrow, but we can't change things on our own. Talent and DEI needs less incrementalism and more burning impatience from the entire industry. Let's talk about the next area, privacy and addressability. Huge topic. On the addressability front, it's not news anymore that the cookie and third-party identifiers are going away. In fact, it was on this very stage in 2020 when it was officially announced. It's the world's biggest slow-motion train wreck. We could all see it coming from miles down the track, and the industry's response? More incrementalism. Someone will figure it out for me. Our just-released State of Data report shows that the perception of readiness does not equal reality. We are simply not prepared. The industry needs to talk together about what's next. And it's not just about cookies. It's about Congress. Data-driven advertising is under assault from every direction. Reasonable and responsible uses of data should not be demonized. And yet the torrent of negativity from Washington continues. Surveillance advertising is the new buzzword. And underneath those sound bites are legislators that want to set the industry and the American economy back decades. And the hostility among regulators in Europe is even more troublesome. The most recent decision of the Belgian Data Protection Authority makes an already complex regulatory landscape even more difficult to navigate, with the ultimate effect of concentrating the market and limiting the availability of free content in Europe. If the goal was to create a separate commercial internet for Europe with an entirely different set of draconian policies, the regulators are well on their way. The ad-supported internet is essential for businesses, essential for consumers, and essential for the competitiveness of America, the American, European, and global economy. The industry needs to talk about what's happening and not happening in Washington, D.C. There is still nothing resembling a bipartisan national privacy policy. There seems to be a sense that there are only two options. Option one is an unmanageable patchwork of burdensome, complex state and local legislation, or punitive national legislation that risks making the giant players larger while harming the smaller ones. Because only the giants will be able to afford to comply. We need to show that there's a third and better way. More than anything, the industry needs to have those conversations together. The industry needs to create a unified front that helps influence the conversations already happening in legislatures around the world. Once legislation is passed, it's very hard to undo. IAB is doing its part on Capitol Hill. We have significantly strengthened our efforts in Washington, hiring Amazon Public Policy Pro Lartice Tiffeth as head of IAB Public Policy. We've also named Brendan Thomas as Vice President, Public Policy Communications. We have also released our cross-jurisdiction Privacy Project Compendium and legal specifications, because privacy is a truly global issue with local nuance. Last month, we launched a new educational initiative, Internet for Growth. If you were here yesterday, you saw exactly what that was about. This always-on public policy educational campaign is designed to highlight the essential role of the advertising-supported internet in strengthening small businesses and in accelerating innovation. We have recruited over 300 small businesses to tell their story, and we're just getting started. Nearly a century ago, the rise of electronics enabled Bill Hewlett and David Packard to start a business in their garage in Palo Alto. That sparked a century of American innovation. In this century, the commercial internet is enabling countless entrepreneurs to pursue their dreams. Let me introduce you to graphic designer Rockland Page. He started Rockablock, a business that designs and prints t-shirts with his art at rockablock.com from the basement of his home in Maryville, Indiana. He's gone on to open a brick-and-mortar store in town, leveraging Instagram and Facebook. He has seen his business quadruple in sales this past year. That's a success story that we are sure that Indiana's 1st Congressional District will care a lot about. The commercial internet is enabling successful businesses, including minority-owned businesses, to start and to thrive. It is a critical part of the engine of American entrepreneurship, and it's open to everyone. IAB is doing its part for addressability, too. In 2020, IAB and IAB Tech Lab introduced Project ReArc, an initiative to get stakeholders across the digital advertising and media supply chain working together to make the internet a better place for consumers, marrying the value of privacy, personalization, and safety. The Tech Lab ReArc working groups continue to make significant progress as we head into the addressable future. The future will not be one thing. We won't simply replace the cookie with something else. What we will need is a portfolio approach, and that is exactly what we are working on. Seller-defined audiences, global privacy platform, clean room standards, we are moving the industry ahead. But we can't change things on our own, especially in this political environment. Privacy and addressability both need less incrementalism and more burning impatience from the entire industry. Let's talk about next-generation measurement. The industry has been talking in circles about this for more than 2 decades, ever since I have been in this business. And the only thing that is clear is that anything resembling real progress will get bogged down in a not invented here conversation. We have at least 27 individual industry efforts focused on next generation measurement. Undoubtedly, these will be productive and learning is good. But couldn't we all use some standards in measurement that are a foundation that we can all work off of? Is there a taxonomy that can help define a baseline that we can all build off of? We believe so. IAB is doing its part. We're doing our best to provide essential industry guidance on how to measure media and audiences across platforms amid changes in underlying technology, as well as suggest best practices and guidelines for measurement and attribution with considerations for addressability, brand safety, ad fraud, and privacy. We have introduced Open Measurement SDK into the marketplace to facilitate the implementation of third-party viewability and verification measurement. It is deployed around the world for web and mobile, with CTV launching imminently. But once again, we can't change things on our own, especially if everyone insists on protecting their favorite metrics rather than asking what's best for the industry overall. Next generation measurement needs less incrementalism and much less not invented here, and more burning impatience from the entire industry. Our last topic, trust and transparency. Digital ad fraud has plagued our industry since the early days of the first Zima banner ad. On this issue, I'm sure some of us remember that, on this issue at least, there has been a great amount of industry engagement, and we've accomplished a lot together. IAB helped establish the Trustworthy Accountability Group, established over 6 years ago. TAG's Certified Against Fraud program saved marketers more than $1 billion last year alone. Talk is cheap, but real industry collaboration is worth $1 billion. Policing our supply chain is a never-ending task, and every success brings with it new challenges. For example, the rise of CTV has made it hugely attractive as a target for bad actors. Rest assured, wherever the ad dollar goes, there'll be fraudsters there to chase it. IAB is doing its part. TechLab has released important standards over the past year to encourage transparency in the supply chain, like updating ads.txt, ads.cert, launching idsources.json, the Transparency Center, and more. But we can't change things on our own. We need the industry to embrace and adopt these standards. That adoption is what makes these standards powerful. Without widespread adoption, they're just good ideas. Trust and transparency needs less incrementalism and more burning impatience from the entire industry. On all of these issues, our industry needs to recognize that tiny tweaks and adjustments aren't doing nearly enough. We need to take the advice of Buckminster Fuller. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. 2022 is the perfect year to take a clean sheet of paper approach to our most stubborn problems. The need to drive progress is one of the big reasons we brought in ad agencies as full members of IAB. We've had over 15 holding companies, sub-holding companies, and independent agencies join in 2022. We know we can't change things on our own. It's not us versus them, buyer versus seller. It's all of us working together. IAB is the only media and marketing trade body that truly represents the Big Tent. It is our belief that the challenges of our industry require us all to have an equal seat at the table. There has never been a more important time for collaboration, and this goes beyond data, media, and technology. This includes creative and digital agencies as well. Let this serve as an invitation to the entire ecosystem. If you aren't engaged yet, we need you. We need all of your perspectives to help us solve these big, thorny industry challenges. 2022 is the perfect year to join an IAB working group that is striving to build new models that will make the industry's legacy models obsolete. Change, real change, is sweaty, messy work. It can't happen, it won't happen if the industry's best leaders, you, sit on the sidelines and hope that it all magically solves itself. It's time for action, not just words. Here are 3 things that I ask you to do right here, right now. IAB's superpower is our members. You are the industry leaders and are incredibly powerful when focused on the same goal. Your efforts in Washington should be squarely focused on educating legislators about the value of using data responsibly for advertising and marketing purposes. It should also continue to press the need for national privacy reform. Yes, I know we have the midterms, and yes, I know all the experts say it's very unlikely for us to pass national privacy reform in the near term. But I can assure you, if we don't all push it, it will never happen. Number 2, as you are thinking about your expenditures this year, stop and ask yourself, what would I do if I started this plan with a clean sheet of paper? Push yourself out of your comfort zone and follow where consumers are leading us. It isn't incremental change, it's wholesale. Finally, pick a critical issue that you are burning with impatience about, be it measurement, ad fraud, supply chain transparency, podcast standards, DEI, CTV, and decide to do something about it. Join an IAB or Tech Lab working group, committee, or council, and help us push it forward so that I don't have to talk about it again next year, and I don't have to talk about it ever again. Stubborn problems always win until stubborn people say no more. Thank you for your impatience today. It's exactly what we need.